Okay, video 3. We are now going to start to slow down because we're going to get into some prime specific tips and details that I have settled into, which is kind of more uncharted territory. The first two videos, there are lots of materials out on this, but for now that we're in prime, I'm going to show you what I have been liking as I've been doing cues with prime. So the first thing we need to do is go to the gear here, settings. You need to look for that network session that we started earlier in the other two videos. Like I said, we're on IAC right now, an internal network. So let's go ahead and select that. And with Prime, it's awesome. It's as easy as that. You're now talking to ProPresenter for any of your MIDI cues or any kind of cues you want. Okay, now we're getting into how I do things. So you remember how I set up in ProPresenter. I did not do any ordering. I just needed one of each verse, chorus, bridge, etc. That's what pays off here with Prime. Because we do sections with Prime and we mark our bridges and our choruses, we can apply that same idea with ProPresenter in our cues. So you'll see here my Do It Again arrangement is very different from the original arrangement. I actually have no verses in this arrangement, okay? Now, I recommend when you MIDI cue a song, MIDI cue the actual arrangement, like the original arrangement. That way, whatever your future arrangements are, if you're taking away verses or adding more verses, your MIDI cues are already there, and so they're as you add a verse, the MIDI cues add with it. So don't start with a custom arrangement. But this is just an example for you to show you that I'm not even using any verses, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to be calling up specific slides for each section. Okay, so there's going to be awesome loop tutorial videos that show you how to do a MIDI cue, but I'm just going to go ahead and for this purpose do one for you, and then we'll get to the example. Edit MIDI cues. I like to zoom in. It's way better. Okay, double click. Okay, now here's some of the things I do. So in the very first moment of it, you heard me talk about the intro slide. Yeah, so in this particular version, actually I would probably throw it earlier. I would throw the intro slide, which is going to be MIDI note 19. Velocity. Here's where velocity comes in. Velocity is the number of slide. The intro slide, if you remember, was slide number 1. So your velocity number is your slide number. If you had a slide 17, you would click 17 for your velocity. That's telling ProPresenter what slide. The MIDI note tells it what song item, or it tells it what playlist item, what song item, depending upon that list that we showed you in video 2, where, like, you know, this is like going through playlist items. This one is going through picking the actual, hey, I want you to start scrolling through slides on the item, playlist item that you've already selected. Now this tells you what slide. Okay, so 19 is trigger slide. Velocity is trigger what slide? Trigger the 8th slide. Now something I do, because I have all kinds of MIDI channels going on. I've got MIDI notes that are going from my my main stage software. On this computer, I've got MIDI notes that are, I've got like a pedal, a MIDI cue pedal that's like cueing play and fade in and loop and all different kinds of things in Prime. So I've got different MIDI notes flying all over the place. So I like to organize my MIDI channels in the following way. Channel 1 for me is all of my MIDI controllers that are like assigned to a section or a song or a next button or a repeat button. Channel 2 for me is all of my main stage cueing. So any of my MIDI notes that are going back and forth between main stage, my keyboard that's connected, and it's sending a whole key bed of MIDI notes and its buttons and things to main stage. I throw all of those on channel 2. Channel 3 for me is my ProPresenter world. So any MIDI note that I want to send to or from ProPresenter is on channel 3. And I have some other channels, like channel 4 for me is cueing my light board, MIDI cues, light cues to my light board. I do that on channel 4. This is important if you've got all different kinds of, man, it can get crazy fast if you're trying to do a lot of different softwares and MIDI cueing and you're trying to do them all on the same channel. Don't do that. New channel equals a whole new world of MIDI notes. And so your G1 note is specifically for ProPresenter. And if there's another G1 note flying out there, it's okay because it's on a totally different channel. Hope that makes sense. So that's what you do. And you just hit, it creates the MIDI note for you. You'll see a lot of tutorials from this, so I won't stay on that any longer. So here's a song, Won't Stop Now by Elevation that I've cued out a bunch. So there's all my lyric cues. One thing I wanted to show you that I have found really helpful is this is a cue for the first slide of verse 1. I like to pre-cue. I like to give my people, a couple seconds to see what words am I about to sing. This isn't karaoke. Give them a heads up of what the words are coming on the screen. So what I like to do, because Prime has awesome features like repeat and loop, or just randomly select one of the sections and it takes you right there, is I like to double cue this. So I cue what the upcoming slide is in the section before, but I do another cue here that's identical to this one, just in case I'm mowing through the first verse and I'm like, man, that was so good. Let's sing that first verse again. And I hit the repeat button. If I don't have this there, it's not going to cue, because my cue for the first words there is over here. It's not going to cue it. So I put a double cue here. I have tried putting this, oops, I got to get into edit mode. I have tried putting this cue all the way here. I'm sure Prime's going to iron out a lot of these things, but I've not had the best luck with it being like all the way at the end when you're going to repeat. So I just like to give it a little room. People won't mind if you're in the moment and you're flowing and it's all improv anyways, if your words are half a second off and you've already done it before. That's my philosophy anyways. But I like those double cues there, okay? And I like to think about that all the way through. You see, I've got all these sections double cued. You're going through an instrumental, you want to clear the slide, do a clear slide cue. I like to do that sometimes as well. But the most important thing that I've settled into that I really like is this double cue thing. So you'll just figure out those kind of things. You'll figure out your spacing, whether you're using a downbeat or not. But once you make those cues, you can move them all around anyhow, okay? The other thing I would just recommend is don't put a cue in your start block or your end block. Man, you're going to do a lot of things. Maybe, future arrangement, you're going to cut out, you're going to want it to crossfade like way early in this ending section. And so you're going to start messing with your end time, start time stuff. I would just stay away from that so that you're not going to the next song and there was some crucial cue you had there to clear it out or something like that. I like to stay inside my intros and my outros instead of start time, end time. All right, hope this helped. In the next video, we will talk more about MIDI cueing, but we will talk about different kinds of MIDI cueing rather than just lyric cueing.